All right, folks, welcome in. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and today we're going to be talking about wide receivers in this mini series. Okay, this is going to be big play wide receivers only, or at least wide receivers that I believe to be big play wide receivers. They might not be the biggest names, but understand that there are still guys that can make big time plays. So before we dive into it, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Be sure to follow me on all social media at JK Bogan, including Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Kick. In addition to that, just want to let you guys know that today's sponsor is Mando, which does have the best deodorant on the face of the planet. And you can go and pick up your starter pack at Mando, shopmando.com. Using the code JK Bogan, you'll get $5 off. It's about 40% off in value. And if you're looking for, body wash or anything like that, and you're looking to control body odor anywhere, be sure to do that with Mando. So again, JK Bogan is the code. Check them out. The link is in the description below. So let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. Wide receiver. We already talked about quarterback. We talked about running backs. These are your primers. This is how you get ready. This is your guide to free agency essentially for the Rams, but also the draft and in the trade market. So let's talk about wide receivers. We'll start off with a let's say, X receiver that I really like, that has some injuries that I wouldn't be against signing, but I am probably going to be against signing because I think he's going to cost a lot. That's Chris Godwin. The market sucks. I'm going to be honest with you, brutally honest. The market is not good. It's not. Just because you have, 7 players you like that you want the Rams to sign does not mean this is a good free agency market. That's why I have actually advocated for bringing back a lot of these guys. Not at wide receiver, although I'm very happy Tutu Atwell's back. But you got Tutu Atwell, you got Cooper Kupp gone, you got Puka Nacua, you got Jordan Whittington. Obviously somebody like Demarcus Robinson won't be back. Tyler Johnson maybe. So you do have to kind of figure things out here. With Cooper Kupp gone, and we don't know if he's going to get traded or cut at this point, it's going to be Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell by default. Atwell's being paid $10 million a year. No doubt about it, he's going to be utilized. Jordan Whittington, is he going to be 3 or a 4 on this team? That remains to be seen. So let's start off. I mentioned Chris Godwin, like him a lot. We'll see how things go. My guess is they're not going to spend $20+ million on a wide receiver that has had injury problems. But man, he fits this offense so well. If he could stay healthy, he might be the best fit for this offense. So then we look at potential trade options. First one, Romeo Doubs from the Packers. I'm not saying that they would trade him, but last year there was some indication that they might. Doubs is an interesting player. He's not the most athletic. He's not the fastest, not the tallest or strongest or anything like that. Just a really solid player. Can win over the top. Can, win with his route running ability. Gets off the line of scrimmage with ease. I like Doubs a lot. Would I go after him like with reckless abandon? No. But if he's available, I'm interested. Number 3 is John Mechie. So this is a former second-round pick in his respective draft. I mean, he's battled, so much in his life, including his bout with cancer. John Mechie is an inspiration, but also John Mechie is a very talented receiver who's just not getting the opportunities in Houston. You got Tank Dell, you got Nico Collins, and the way that he's just kind of emerged. And then they just go out and they trade for Christian Kirk, who absolutely would have been on this list. Mechie could be available. And, the question is, what does that look like? And how does he do this whole thing? I actually said that, in the draft he came out of, I said he was the best route runner in that draft, and I stand by it. He's an outstanding route runner, good natural hands catcher, and he will block. Could be an interest for the Rams. Now, does he fit as the X receiver? I think he'd work better in like the slot. But who knows? There's an option. Number 2 is Alec Pierce for trade options. You talk about a big play threat. You talk about an X receiver, a guy that can stretch the field, 4.3 speed out of Cincinnati. Alec Pierce is your man there, and he really started to show up last year. I think the development took a little bit longer than we thought. I think we thought he had a really high floor, maybe a lower ceiling. Maybe we had it backwards. Maybe he had a lower floor but a higher ceiling. And with that said, I think Alec Pierce would make a lot of sense for the Rams. Is he available? Is Indy willing to trade him? That's the question. But, if he is, again, these are potential trade options, not necessarily saying they're 100% going to happen. I think it's a good fit for the Rams. Another field stretcher, a lot of speed. You have him, you got Nacua, you have Atwell, you have Whittington. That's a lot of speed right there. So I'd feel pretty good about that. I would prefer other guys, but Alec Pierce makes the Rams a better team if they go out and get him. And then last but not least, Jacoby Myers from the Raiders. Not really sure where the Raiders are going to go this offseason. Myers has been linked to being traded. I've always said he's incredibly underrated, just from the body control perspective of him being able to make some crazy catches, for him being able to be that threat downfield, for him to run those routes. And he is a physical blocking wide receiver. I think he fits the Rams very well. But if they're looking for a number 1 to go with Puka Nacua and have 2 1s or what have you, I don't know if he makes a lot of sense there. So I still think he's good enough to have on this list, but who knows where they go. Then you have free agency. I have it narrowed down to just 5 names. 5. That's it. This is not a good free agency class. I'm not interested in Stephon Diggs. I'm not interested in DeAndre Hopkins. I don't care. These guys aren't going to move the needle. Like, it's time for us to start realizing just because they're big names doesn't mean that they can still play at that big level. So you go to number 5 here, Dyami Brown. We saw him in the playoffs. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Dyami Brown is going to be a superstar in Sean McVay's offense. But he would add not only that speed, the body control, the versatility to play inside, outside. You saw it in the playoffs. You saw it against, you saw it against the Lions for sure. Deep threat, that ability. I just think that the best football is yet to come for Dyami Brown. So we'll see how that goes, but I have him at number 5 on this list. Number 4, he's not the fastest, but man, this guy is a touchdown machine. If you talk about losing a guy like, Demarcus Robinson, you're upset about losing 7 touchdowns, why don't you add the 9 that Nick Westbrook-Ikine had last year in Tennessee with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph throwing him the football. This guy can win off the line of scrimmage in a multitude of ways. He's got great footwork. And in addition to that, he does a nice job of stacking defensive backs, despite the fact he's not the fastest receiver. Runs about a 4.6. Who cares, though? His play speed is better. I think this guy can break tackles. He is an outstanding run blocker. He fits the Rams very well, so keep an eye out for him if they want to add somebody to the room. Number 3, more explosive, more productive, I would say, more consistent, Darius Slayton, who has really been kind of the deep threat in New York. He's been so good for the Giants, and I just think that, he's not a name that people think of, and, they're like, oh, wow, this guy's special, this guy's so good, all that. But he is a good player, and he might not be the sexiest option, but before you write him off, was Robert Woods the sexiest option? 500-something yards, run blocker, number 1 run offense, just wasn't really much of a blow-up receiver. Then he goes to the Rams and almost gets 1,000 yards in his first year. Was that the sexy option? What about Cooper Kupp? 4.6 40. Played football at Eastern Washington. I mean, like Chris Godwin had played in the Rose Bowl. You saw the explosion. They took Cooper Kupp. Like, was that the sexy option? How about Brandon Cooks? We've talked about it for a while. Brandon Cooks, I've always had a lot of respect for. I really liked his game. Same thing with Sammy Watkins. But were either of these guys like elite? No. The Rams haven't really had elite receivers when you really think about it. I mean, Cooper Kupp turned into that. They've always had like that B+ tier when you really think about it. In the Sean McVay era, obviously they've had Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt and Henry Ellard, who should be in the Hall of Fame, as well as Torrey Holt. Still can't believe he's not. But, they've had receivers in their past. Of course, Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch. They've had plenty of receivers that are really, really good. But, in the Sean McVay era, Robert Woods was like B+, A-. I mean, I love Robert Woods, but Robert Woods was never the top receiver in the league. Cooper Kupp became that at one point. Brandon Cooks was never the top. He was one of the best receivers in the league, or one of the best in his roles. So that's why I wouldn't rule out a Darius Slayton. Slayton might not move the needle for you, could move the needle for the Rams. You had more speed, him, Tutu Atwell, Puka Nacua, Jordan Whittington, and then maybe you draft somebody. How does that look? But I think definitely do not count out Darius Slayton. I think this could be a move here. He'd make a lot of sense, can do the little things. He's an underrated receiver. He's a good player. 28 years old. You signed him to a 2-year deal, 3-year deal, whatever. I think that would make some sense. Number 2 is Josh Palmer. I've been talking about him a lot on this channel. We even had an isolated video on the guy, showing even some film. Josh Palmer, make no mistake about it, I think he would absolutely blow up in this offense. Like, I think he'd be a 1,000-yard receiver. Matthew Stafford throwing the football, his body control, his route running, his attention to detail, his blocking, just that speed, the deep threat ability. I think Josh Palmer would be huge for this team. Will they go that direction? That I don't know. I have him ahead of Darius Slayton here. He's younger. I think the upside is higher. I think Darius Slayton kind of is what he is, but in a better situation, those statistical outputs get maximized. So that's how I feel there. And number 1, people aren't going to like it. Some will, some won't. 32-year-old Davante Adams. I understand this sends like kind of a mixed signal when you're like, why did they get rid of Cooper Kupp then? Well, I'll tell you. Cooper Kupp, the only reason he's not playing football in LA is because he has a $29.7 million cap hit. Okay, so really, if he was around $12 million, they wouldn't be trying to move him. They clearly want to do some things with their cap. They also do want to get younger at wide receiver, but they probably want to get a little bit more athletic at wide receiver. They want to get, Kupp, like I've said, kind of fell off down the stretch of the season. And in the things that he can do, like those horizontally breaking routes, he's not doing them anymore. He's not doing them at the clip he used to. He was really just their deep threat, but he's not necessarily the fastest guy on the team. So it's kind of interesting and it's tough. But Davante Adams makes all the sense in the world. I think you look at from a perspective of this guy can win in a multitude of ways off the line of scrimmage. He still is beating guys in double teams. He can work his way back to the football. He always has a nose for, the sideline, make sure he's not stepping out of bounds, that toe tap. He's such a great receiver, so crafty. And I think the biggest issue for him would be the blocking, which I think could ultimately lead to the Rams not signing him. But with that said, I do think Davante Adams is the best fit. They need a guy that is going to help them in the red zone. If you are moving on from Demarcus Robinson, which, by the way, I fully support, fully agree, then you have to have a guy that's going to be able to catch touchdowns in the red zone, in the end zone, and that is, in my opinion, Davante Adams. Body control is there. He can get 2 feet in bounds, like I've said. He's just really, really good at what he does. And if you thought for a second he was washed, go back and watch the tape with him and Rodgers. Neither are washed. Both are really good. Davante Adams could very well follow Rodgers, whether that is to, the Giants, the Vikings, Seattle, the Raiders, not the Raiders because Geno's there. He could go anywhere. But we've heard consistently he wants to go to the West Coast. And to me, I think the Chargers are going to end up with DK Metcalf. I think the 49ers are least likely to turn this thing around. And I don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl this year by any stretch. So I think the Rams are the best fit, and they need an next receiver. Keeps Puka Nacua in the Z role, and then you have the slot. You can use Tutu Atwell. You can use Jordan Whittington. You can maybe you sign 2 of the guys on this list, whatever. You draft one. But I think Adams is the best option. Big play, kind of a game changer. A guy that Stafford could really lean on late in games when teams try to bear down on Puka Nacua. See, that's the thing. if Cooper Kupp didn't have any sort of fall off, it would have been nearly impossible to defend Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. But unfortunately, whether people want to admit it or not, Puka Nacua's ascension never coincided with a prime Cooper Kupp. It just never happened. So if you went out and got Davante Adams, you'd have kind of a semblance of what that was supposed to look like. Then you got your draft picks. I got 15 guys here, not in any particular order. Well, actually, yeah, I guess to a degree in an order, somewhat. Emeka Ibuka, I understand might not be the X receiver, but again, big play receiver. I think he could really help them out. Jaden Higgins, love that. Matthew Golden, Tetaroa McMillan, I don't necessarily think he'll be there, but he's an option. Luther Burden the third, Torrey Horton, Trey Harris, Alik Ayomanyor, Caden Prather, Ja'Cory Brooks, Jalen Knoll, Jalen Royals, Isaiah Bond, Ty Felton, and Jack Beck, or Beck. I think it's Beck, but are the 15 receivers that I have. So, in conclusion, what are the best 3 fits for the Rams? Well, I think number 1 is Davante Adams. Regardless of what people want to say, this is a team that is built to win right now. If you go out and you get Davante Adams, you put him with Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, you got Jordan Whittington coming off the bench, and maybe you draft another guy, you're in a really good shape. Stafford has Adams, Puka, Tutu, Jordan Whittington. He's got Tyler Higbee, Kyron Williams, Blake Corum. I mean, there's a lot of options there. So I really do like that fit. I think he is kind of the last piece to the puzzle. I'm not saying they 100% get him, but I do feel like he's the best fit, and I think the Rams are the best fit for him. So that's Davante Adams. Number 2, this one is tough for me, but I am going to go with Emeka Ibuka here. I understand it kind of makes it a little muddy. Is Ibuka really an X receiver? Really, no. But I just think you go out, you get the best receiver possible. Ibuka just has all the attention to detail. He's an outstanding run blocker. This is a guy that is just really conscientious, really smart. And if you look at who the Rams draft, typically what does a Ram mean? They want to draft smart players. I think Ibuka might even be the best option, but I'm going to say with Davante Adams at 1, Ibuka's 2, and number 3, I know a lot of people like Matthew Golden. I'm going to say Jaden Higgins is the 3rd best option. Higgins probably has the most upside of the 3 that I'm mentioning here, without a doubt. I don't think he could absolutely be their X. He doesn't even have to play right away. Like, he could be their 4th or 3rd guy. But I just think Higgins, already the familiarity factor with Nate Scheelhaas, I think Higgins is a really, really fun player. I wouldn't be surprised they went after a guy like Trey Harris either, but those are my 3. I got Davante Adams, Emeka Ibuka, and Jaden Higgins. Those are my 3 go-to guys. If the Rams get one of those 3, you should be jumping for joy, because that means that team just got a hell of a lot better at a position of need. So those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below what your 3 are. But those are my 3. A lot of options here. Again, just because I said those 3 doesn't mean I'm still not into Josh Palmer. Doesn't mean that I don't believe in a Darius Slayton. But there was some money taken, off the table here. Stafford took less money to come to the Rams. I don't think he took less money to come to the Rams so they would pick up Diami Brown. So, I'm just saying, nothing against him, but I think Davante Adams kind of fits that bill. We'll see what ends up happening via the draft, but that's what I have for you guys. Next up is tight ends. Then we'll get into right tackles of the future behind Rob Havenstein, who makes sense there. We'll get into other positions as well, and that's that. So hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to check out today's sponsor, Mando, and I'll see you guys soon. Later, folks. All right, guys. So once again, just want to let you guys know that you can check out my new side project, The Lounge. I interview athletes, musicians, actors, actresses, all the 9. So definitely check it out over on the Lounge with Jake Ellenbogen channel. Be sure to subscribe and enjoy. In case you guys haven't noticed, I do have a Discord channel for my community on this channel. And if you want to be a part of it, it is free. The link is in the description below. You can sign up. This is basically a 24/7 Rams channel, and we are almost at 1,100 members. So if you want to be a part of it, just hit the link in the description below.